Hey, and welcome. We are reading A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms by George R.R. Martin, which HBO will be making a show about, releasing next year, I believe. Now, we are reading the first part of the book, The Hedge Knight, and we've already read one section, which I'll link below in the description. So, we'll continue now in part 2. In the morning, he woke to the sound of a cock crowing. Egg was still there, curled up beneath the old man's second-best cloak. Well, the boy did not run off during the night. That's a start. He prodded him awake with his foot. Up, there's work to do. The boy rose quick enough, rubbing his eyes. Help me saddle Sweetfoot, Dunk told him. What about breakfast? There's salt beef. After we're done. I'd sooner eat the horse, Egg said. Sir. You'll eat my fist if you don't do as you're told. Get the brushes, they're in the saddle sack. Yes, that one. Together, they brushed out the palfrey's sorrel coat, hefted Sir Arlen's best saddle over her back, and clinched it tight. Egg was a good worker once he put his mind to it, Dunk saw. I'll be gone most of the day, he told the boy as he mounted. You're to stay here and put the camp in order. Make sure no other thieves come nosing about. Can I have a sword to run them off with? Egg asked. He had blue eyes, Dunk saw, very dark, almost purple. His bald head made them seem huge somehow. No, said Dunk, a knife's enough. And you had best be here when I come back. Do you hear me? Rob me and run off, and I'll hunt you down. I swear I will, with dogs. You don't have any dogs, Egg pointed out. I'll get some, said Dunk, just for you. He turned Sweetfoot's head towards the meadow and moved off at a brisk trot, hoping that the threat would be enough to keep the boy honest. Save for the clothes on his back, the armour in his sack, and the horse beneath him, everything Dunk owned in the world was back at that camp. I am a great fool to trust the boy so far. But it is no more than the old man did for me, he reflected. The mother must have sent him to me so that I could pay my debts. As he crossed the field, he heard the ring of hammers from the riverside, where carpenters were nailing together jousting barriers and raising a lofty viewing stand. A few new pavilions were going up as well, while the knights who had come earlier slept off last night's revels or sat to break their fasts. Dunk could smell wood smoke and bacon as well. To the north of the meadow flowed the river Cockrellswent, a vassal stream to the mighty Mander. Beyond the shallow ford lay a town and castle. Dunk had seen many a market town during his journeys with the old man. This was prettier than most. The whitewashed houses and their thatched roofs had an inviting aspect to them. When he was smaller, he used to wonder what it would be like to live in such a place, to sleep every night with a roof over your head, and wake every morning with the same walls wrapped around you. It may be that soon I'll know, and Egg too. It could happen. Stranger things happen every day. Ashford Castle was a stone structure built in the shape of a triangle, with round towers rising 30 feet tall at each point, and thick crenellated walls running between them. Orange banners flew from its battlements, displaying the white sun and chevron sigil of its lord. Men-at-arms in orange and white livery stood outside the gates with halberds, watching people come and go, seemingly more intent on joking with the pretty milkmaid than in keeping anyone out. Dunk reined up in front of the short, bearded man he took for their captain and asked for their master of games. It's Plummer you want. He's steward here. I'll show you. Inside the yard, a stable boy took Sweetfoot for him. Dunk slung Sir Arlen's battered shield over a shoulder and followed the guard's captain back of the stables to a turret built into an angle of the curtain wall. Steep stones led up to the wall. Come to enter your master's name for the lists? The captain asked as they climbed. It's my own name I'll be putting in. Is it now? Was the man smirking? Dunk could not be certain. That door there. I'll leave you to it and get back to my post. When Dunk pushed the door open, the steward was sitting at a trestle table, scratching on a piece of parchment with a quill. He had thinning grey hair and a narrow, pinched face. "Yes," he said, looking up. "What do you want, man?" Dunk pulled the door shut. "Are you Plummer, the steward? I came for the tourney, to enter the lists." Plummer pursed his lips. "My lord's tourney is a contest for knights. Are you a knight?" He nodded, wondering if his ears were red. "A knight with a name, mayhaps?" Dunk. Why had he said that? "Sir Duncan, the Tall." "And where might you be from, Sir Duncan the Tall?" "Every place. I was squire to Sir Arlan of Pennytree since I was 5 or 6. This is his shield." He showed it to the steward. "He was coming to the tourney, but he caught a chill and died, so I came in his stead. He knighted me before he passed, with his own sword." Dunk drew the long sword and laid it on the scarred wooden table between them. The Master of Lists gave the blade no more than a glance. "A sword it is, for a certainty. I have never heard of this Arlan of Pennytree, however. You were his squire, you say?" "He always said he meant for me to be a knight, as he was. When he was dying, he called for his long sword and bade me to kneel. He touched me once on my right shoulder and once on my left, said some words, and when I got up, I was a knight." "Humph." The man Plummer rubbed his nose. "Any knight can make a knight, it is true, though it is more customary to stand vigil and be anointed by a septum before taking your vows. Were there any witnesses to your dubbing?" "Only a robin up in a thorn tree. I heard it as the old man was saying the words. He charged me to be a good knight and true, and to obey the 7 gods, defend the weak and innocent, serve my lord faithfully, and defend the realm with all my might. And I swore that I would." "No doubt." Plummer did not deign to call him sir. Dunk could not help but notice. "I shall need to consult with Lord Ashford. Will you or your late master be known to any of the good knights here assembled?" Dunk thought a moment. "There was a pavilion flying the banner of House Dondarion, the black, with purple lightning?" "That would be Sir Manfred of that house. Sir Arlan served his father in Dorne 3 years past. Sir Manfred might remember me. I would advise you to speak to him. If he will vouch for you, bring him here with you on the morrow at this same time." "As you say, my lord." He started for the door. "Sir Duncan," the steward called after him. Dunk turned back. "You are aware," the man said, "that those vanquished in tourney forfeit their arms, armour, and horses to the victors, and must needs ransom them back." "I know. And do you have coin to pay such ransom?" Now he knew his ears were red. "I won't have need of coin," he said, praying it was true. "All I need is 1 victory. If I win my first tilt, I'll have the loser's armour and horse, or his gold, and I can stand a loss myself." He walked slowly to the steps, reluctant to get on with what he must do next. In the yard, he collared one of the stable boys. "I must speak with Lord Ashford's master of horse." "I'll find him for you." It was cool and dim in the stables. An unruly grey stallion snapped at him as he passed, but Sweetfoot only whickered softly and nuzzled at his hand when he raised it to her nose. "You're a good girl, aren't you?" he murmured. The old man always said that a knight should never love a horse, since more than a few were like to die under him, but he never heeded his own counsel either. Dunk had often seen him spend his last copper on an apple for old Chestnut, or some oats for Sweetfoot and Thunder. The palfrey had been Sir Arlan's riding horse, and she had borne him tirelessly over thousands of miles, all up and down the 7 kingdoms. Dunk felt as though he was betraying an old friend, but what choice did he have? Chestnut was too old to be worth much of anything, and Thunder must carry him in the lists. Some time passed before the master of horse deigned to appear. As he waited, Dunk heard a blare of trumpets from the walls and voices in the yard, Curious, he led Sweetfoot to the stable door to see what was happening. A large party of knights and mounted riders poured through the gates, 100 men at least, riding some of the most splendid horses that Dunk had ever seen. Some great lord has come. He grabbed the arm of the stable boy as he ran past. Who are they? The boy looked at him queerly. Can't you see the banners? He wrenched free and hurried off. The banners? As Dunk turned his head, a gust of wind lifted the black silk pennon atop the tall staff, and the fierce three-headed dragon of House Targaryen seemed to spread its wings, breathing scarlet fire. The banner-bearer was a tall knight in white scale armour chased with gold, a pure white cloak streaming from his shoulders. Two of the other riders were armoured in white from head to heel as well. Kingsguard knights with a royal banner. Small wonder Lord Ashford and his sons came hurrying out the doors of the keep, and the fair maid too, a short girl with yellow hair and a pink round face. She does not seem fair to me, Dunk thought. The puppet girl was prettier. Boy, let go of that nag and see to my horse. A rider dismounted in front of the stables. He's talking to me, Dunk realized. I am not a stable boy, my lord. Not clever enough? The speaker wore a black cloak bordered in scarlet satin, but underneath was a raiment bright as flame, all reds and yellows and golds. Slim and straight as a dirk, though only middling height, he was near Dunk's own age. Curls of silver gold hair framed a face sculpted and imperious. High brow and a sharp cheekbone, straight nose, pale smooth skin without blemish. His eyes were a deep violet colour. If you cannot manage a horse, fetch me some wine and a pretty wench. My lord pardons, I'm no serving man either. I have the honour to be a knight. Knighthood has fallen on sad days, said the princeling. But then one of the stable boys came rushing up, and he turned away to hand them the reins of his palfrey, a splendid blood bay. Dunk was forgotten in an instant. Relieved, he slunk back inside the stables to wait for the master of horse. He felt ill at ease enough around lords in their pavilions. He had no business speaking to princes. That the beautiful stripling was a prince he had no doubt. The Targaryens were the blood of lost Valyria across the seas, and their silver gold hair and violet eyes set them apart from common men. Dunk knew Prince Baelor was older, but the youth might well have been one of his sons, Valar, who was often called the young prince, to set him apart from his father, or Mataris, the even younger prince, as old Lord Swan's fool had named him once. There were other princelings as well, cousins to Valar and Mataris. King Daeron the Good had 4 grown sons, 3 with sons of their own. The line of dragon kings had almost died out during his father's day, but it was commonly said that Daeron II and his sons had left it secure for all time. You, man, you asked for me? Lord Ashford's master of horse had a red face made even redder by his orange livery, and a brusque manner of speaking. What is it? I have no time for... I want to sell this palfrey, Dunk broke in quickly before the man could dismiss him. She's a good horse, sure of foot. I have no time, I tell you. The man gave Sweetfoot no more than a glance. My lord of Ashford has no need of such. Take her to the town. Perhaps Henley will give you a silver or 3. That quick, he was turning away. Thank you, my lord, Dunk said before he could go. My lord, has the king come? The master of horse laughed at him. No, thank the gods. This infestation of princes is trial enough. Where am I going to find stalls for all these animals? And fodder? He strode off shouting at his stable boys. By the time Dunk left the stable, Lord Ashford had escorted his princely guests into the hall, but 2 of the Kingsguard knights in their white armour and snowy cloaks still lingered in the yard, talking with their captain of the guard. Dunk halted before them. My lords, I am Sir Duncan the Tall. Well met, Sir Duncan, answered the bigger of the white knights. I am Sir Roland Crakehall, and this is my sworn brother, Sir Donald of Duskendale. The 7 champions of the King's Guard were the most puissant warriors in all the 7 kingdoms, saving only perhaps the Crown Prince, Baelor Breakspear himself. "Have you come to enter the lists?" Dunk asked anxiously. "It would not be fitting for us to ride against those we are sworn to protect," answered Sir Donald, red of hair and beard. "Prince Valar has the honour to be one of Lady Ashford's champions," explained Sir Roland, "and 2 of his cousins mean to challenge. The rest of us have come only to watch." Relieved, Dunk thanked the White Knights for their kindness, and rode out through the castle gates before another prince should think to accost him. 3 princelings, he pondered as he turned the palfrey towards the Strait of Ashford town. Valar was the eldest son of Prince Baelor, second in line to the Iron Throne, but Dunk did not know how much of his father's fabled prowess with lance and sword he might have inherited. About the other Targaryen princes, he knew even less. What will I do if I have to ride against a prince? Will I even be allowed to challenge one so highborn? He did not know the answer. The old man had often said he was thick as a castle wall, and just now he felt it. Henley liked the look of Sweetfoot well enough, until he heard Dunk wanted to sell her. Then all the stableman could see were her faults. He offered 300 silvers. Dunk said he must have 3,000. After much arguing and cursing, they settled at 750 silver stags. That was a deal closer to Henley's starting price than to Dunk's, which made him feel the loser in a tilt. But the stableman would go no higher, so in the end he had no choice but to yield. A second argument began when Dunk declared that the price did not include the saddle, and Henley insisted that it had. Finally, it was all settled. As Henley left to fetch his coin, Dunk stroked Sweetfoot's mane and told her to be brave. "If I win, I'll come back and buy you again, I promise." He had no doubt that all the palfrey's flaws would vanish in the intervening days, and she would be worth twice what she was today. The stableman gave him 3 gold pieces and the rest in silver. Dunk bit 1 gold coin and smiled. He had never tasted gold before, nor handled it. Dragons, men called the coins, since they were stamped with the 3-headed dragon of House Targaryen on one side. The other bore the likeness of a king. 2 of the coins Henley had gave him had King Daeron's face. The third was older, well-worn, and showed a different man. His name was there under his head, but Dunk could not read the letters. Gold had been shaved off its edges too, he saw. He pointed this out to Henley, and loudly, and the stableman grumbled and handed over a few silvers and a fistful of coppers to make up the weight. Dunk handed a few of the coppers right back and nodded at Sweetfoot. "That's for her. See that she has some oats tonight. Aye, and an apple too." With the shield on his arm and the sack of old armour slung over his shoulder, Dunk set out on foot through the sunny streets of Ashford town. The heft of all that coin in his pouch made him feel queer, almost giddy on one hand and anxious on the other. The old man had never trusted him with more than a coin or 2 at a time. He could live for a year on this much money. And what will I do when it's gone? Sell thunder? That road ended in beggary or outlawry. This chance will never come again. I must risk all. By the time he splashed back across the ford to the south bank of the Cockleswent, the morning was almost done, and the tourney grounds had come to life once more. The wine sellers and sausage makers were doing a brisk trade. A dancing bear was shuffling along to his master's, playing as the singer sang the bear, and the maiden fair. Jugglers were juggling, and the puppeteers were just finishing another fight. Dunk stopped to watch the wooden dragon slain. When the puppet knight cut its head off and the red sawdust spilled out onto the grass, he laughed aloud and threw the girl 2 coppers. "One for last night," he called. She caught the coins in the air and threw him back a smile as sweet as he had ever seen. Is it me she smiles at, or the coins? Dunk had never been with a girl, and they made him nervous. Once, 3 years past, When the old man's purse was full after half a year in the service of the blind Lord Florence, he'd told Dunk the time had come to take him to the brothel and make him a man. He'd been drunk, though, and when he was sober, he did not remember. Dunk had been too embarrassed to remind him. He was not certain he wanted a whore anyway. If he could not have a high-born maid like a proper knight, he wanted one who at least liked him more than his silver. "Will you drink a horn of ale?" he asked the puppet girl, as she was scooping up the sawdust blood back into her dragon. "With me, I mean. Or a sausage. I had a sausage last night. It was good. They're made with pork, I think." "I thank you, my lord, but we have another show." The girl rose and ran off to the fierce fat Dornish woman who worked the puppet night, while Dunk stood there feeling stupid. He liked the way she ran, though. A pretty girl, and tall. I would not have to kneel to kiss that one. He knew how to kiss. A tavern girl showed him one night in Lannisport, a year ago, but she'd been so short she had to sit on a table to reach his lips. The memory made his ears burn. What a great fool he was. It was jousting he should be thinking about, not kissing. Lord Ashford's carpenters were whitewashing the waist-high wooden barriers that would separate the jousters. Dunk watched them work a while. There were 5 lanes, arrayed north to south, so none of the competitors would ride with sun in his eyes. A 3-tiered viewing stand had been raised on the eastern side of the lists, with an orange canopy to shield the lords and ladies from the rain and sun. Most would sit on the benches, but 4 high-backed chairs had been erected in the centre of the platform, for Lord Ashford, the fair maid, and the visiting princes. On the eastern verge of the meadow, a quintain had been set up, and a dozen knights were tilting at it, sending the polearms spinning every time they struck the splintered shield suspended from one end. Dunk watched the brute of bracken take his turn, then Lord Karen of the Marches. "I do not have as good a seat as any of them," he thought uneasily. Elsewhere, men were training afoot, going at each other with wooden swords, while their squires stood shouting ribald advice. Dunk watched a stocky youth try to hold off a muscular knight, who seemed lithe and quick as a mountain cat. Both had the red apple of the Fossaways painted on their shields, but the younger man's was soon hacked and chipped to pieces. "Here's an apple that's not ripe yet," the old man said as he slammed the other's helm. The younger Fossaway was bruised and bloody by the time he yielded, but his foe was hardly winded. He raised his visor, looked about, saw Dunk, and said, "You there? Yes, you, the big one. Knight of the Winged Chalice. Is that a long sword you wear?" "It is mine by rights," Dunk said defensively. "I am Sir Duncan the Tall." "And I, Sir Stephen Fossaway. Would you care to try me, Sir Duncan the Tall? It would be good to have someone new to cross swords with. My cousin's not ripe yet, as you've seen." "Do it, Sir Duncan," urged the beaten Fossaway, as he removed his helm. "I may not be ripe, but my good cousin is rotten to the core. Knock the seeds out of him." Dunk shook his head. Why were these lordlings involving him in their quarrel? He wanted no part of it. "I thank you, sir, but I have matters to attend." He was uncomfortable carrying so much coin. The sooner he paid steely pate and got his armour, the happier he would be. Sir Stephen looked at him scornfully. "The Hedge Knight has matters." He glanced about and found another likely opponent loitering nearby. "Sir Grants, well met. Come try me. I know every feeble trick my cousin Raymond has mastered, and it seems that Sir Duncan needs to return to the hedges. Come, come." Dunk stalked away, red-faced. He did not have many tricks himself, feeble or otherwise, and he did not want anyone to see him fight until the tourney. The old man always said that the better you knew your foe, the easier it was to best him. Knights like Sir Stephen had sharp eyes to find a man's weakness at a glance. Dunk was strong and quick, and his weight and reach were in his favour, but he did not believe for a moment that his skills were equal to the others. Sir Ireland taught him the best he could, But the old knight had never been the greatest of knights even when young. Great knights did not live their lives in hedges, nor die by the side of a muddy road. That will not happen to me, Dunk vowed. I will show them that I can be more than a hedge knight. Sir Duncan, the younger Fossaway hurried to catch him. I should not have urged you to try my cousin. I was angry with his arrogance, and you are so large I thought, well, it was wrong of me. You wear no armour. He would have broken your hand if he could, or a knee. He likes to batter men in the training yard, so they will be bruised and vulnerable later, should he meet them in the lists. He did not break you. No, but I am his own blood, though his is the senior branch of the apple tree, as he never ceases to remind me. I am Raymond Fossaway. Well met. Will you and your cousin ride in the tourney? He will, for a certainty. As to me, would that I could. I am only a squire as yet. My cousin has promised to knight me, but insists that I am not ripe yet. Raymond had a square face, a pug nose, and short woolly hair, but his smile was engaging. You have the look of a challenger, it seems to me. Whose shield do you mean to strike? It makes no difference, said Dunk. That was what you were supposed to say, though it made all the difference in the world. I will not enter the lists until the 3rd day. And by then some of the champions will have fallen, yes, Raymond said. Well, may the warrior smile on you, sir. And you. If he is only a squire, what business do I have being a knight? One of us is a fool. The silver in Dunk's pouch clinked with every step, but he could lose it all in a heartbeat, he knew. Even the rules of this tourney worked against him, making it very unlikely that he would face a green or feeble foe. There were a dozen different forms a tourney might follow, according to the whim of the lord who hosted it. Some were mocking battles between teams of knights, others wild melees, where the glory went to the last fighter left standing. Where individual combats were the rule, pairings were sometimes determined by lot, and sometimes by the master of games. Lord Ashford was staging this tourney to celebrate his daughter's 13th name day. The fair maid would sit by her father's side as the reigning Queen of Love and Beauty. 5 champions wearing her favours would defend her. All others must perforce be challengers, but any man who could defeat one of the champions would take his place and stand as a champion himself, until such time as another challenger unseated him. At the end of the 3 days of jousting, the 5 who remained would determine whether the fair maid retained the crown of love and beauty, or whether another would wear it in her place. Dunk stared at the grassy lists and the empty chairs on the viewing stands and pondered his chances. One victory was all he needed, then he could name himself one of the champions of Ashford Meadow, if for only an hour. The old man had lived nigh on 60 years and had never been a champion. It is not too much to hope for if the gods are good. He thought back on all the songs he had heard. Songs of blind Simeon Stareyes and noble Serwyn of the Mirror Shield, of Prince Aemon the Dragon Knight, Sir Riam Redwine, and Florian the Fool. They had all won victories against foes far more terrible than any he would face. But they were great heroes, brave men of noble birth, except for Florian. And what am I? Dunk of Flea Bottom, or Sir Duncan the Tall? He supposed he would learn the truth of that soon enough. He hefted the sack of armour and turned his feet toward the merchant's stalls in search of steely paint. And that's where we're going to leave it for today, because my voice is going. So, how did you enjoy that bit? Let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe, turn on your notifications. Have a good day. Cheerio. Of Prince Aemon the Dragon Knight, Sir Riam Red Wine. Both had the red apple of the Fothaways.